I'm a scientist.
The spring
Right.
frost.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get this party started.
Thank you.
Well, guys, welcome to another episode of Simply Champagne with your favorite champagne sommelier here, Cornelius Anthony, and I have a very special guest, someone who I've been following for a while, who I'm very intrigued to pick his brain on champagne because he is doing something I hope to one day achieve and to become is to be a full-time champagne buyer, either for myself or for somebody else. And I have with me Mr. Gary Westby of K&L Wines. How are we doing this afternoon?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's really a big honor for me to be here talking to you, and
Awesome.
I
It's a pleasure.
love everything that you do. And it's been fun for me to listen to past interviews, and I'm pinching myself. I can't believe I'm here. So thank you.
Well, it's such an honor. It's really an honor to have you part of our journey and being a part of who we are. And again, thank you so much. So getting started, can you share with us your champagne journey? How did you become a champagne buyer for K&L Wines, and what sparked your passion for this particular wine region?
Well, when I turned 21, my father encouraged me to get a part-time job in a wine shop because at the time I was uh, I was playing the bass for a really bad half of a living, and then making up the shortfall in bike shop. And my dad said, "You know what? You should try for the wine world because he's a wine collector and he'd been spurring me on to taste stuff." And so I went, and to my surprise, they hired me at the same rate that I was making at the bike shop as the base. Because if you're in the bike business, well, if you want to go into the wine business, the only business you can get a raise from going into the wine business to from is the bike business.
Absolutely.
So it was. I started off with another retailer that sadly is now closed, but I worked there, and it was on the job that I discovered a love for champagne. It
Nice.
was in the run up to Y2K, and the wine buyer. There was this one wine buyer there, and he, there was this big worry that everybody was going to run out for the year 2000 for the 1999 party, and so he started bringing in growers, and at the time it was such a niche thing, so unheard of. We literally
Absolutely.
had floor stacks of Solos, floor stacks of Egliori, like all of these producers that have become cult producers now. At the time, it was just like, yeah, how many do you want? We'll ship them.
Yes. I would definitely start. If you start out with those, that definitely would get you the itch for real to dive deeper into it.
But then I got recruited away in February of 2000 to K&L. They were looking to expand what they were doing with champagne, and very quickly thereafter started off as the champagne buyer. And we at the time we'd had a really big um, private label business with
Nice.
one of the major negociants. But the deal sort of soured because of the importer, whose name will remain secret to protect the guilty. But then Clyde said, "Look, we've been direct importing Bordeaux for many years. We've done a little bit of importation of Italian wines. Why don't you go to Champagne and find some stuff?" Um, so that's what started the direct importation side at K&L, because we do about half with the major brands and out of regular distribution, and then about
Nice.
half direct from Champagne.
Nice. Nice. Cool. As we all know, those who don't know, K&L Wines is very high respected in the wine industry as a consumer and also on the professional side. Can you tell us a little bit more about your the background and philosophy of K&L Wines as an importer and also as a retailer?
Yeah, so K&L was started in '76, and the name is for Kay and Linda, the two wives of our original two owners. Now their sons, Brian and Trey, are also owners in the business. But we've been at it for a long time, and I think one of the most important parts of our history is that perhaps we had the first online wine store. Could be that somebody else was first. We were certainly among the first. That was back in 1995 that we started to sell wine online. And now we have three stores, one in Hollywood, one in Redwood City in the Silicon Valley, basically,
Nice.
and one in San Francisco. And we're just about to add a fourth in Culver City. So it's those are brick and mortar retail stores. We also have a sizable online presence, although unfortunately over the years it's become more and more difficult for us to ship out of state because of basically because of protectionist in-state laws.
Absolutely. Well, you guys for your retail locations, is majority of the wines that you guys have, is it all K&L products, or do you guys deal with other distributors as well?
Well, absolutely we do. So I would say that my set in Champagne is about 50-50
Okay.
from from out of distribution and then from direct importation. So it's my goal. I would love to have every single grand mark. Unfortunately, if a certain grand mark is only offering me a price that is a wholesale price that's higher than my competitors' retail, I can't carry it. But I would love to carry all of them. As it stands, we carry most of them. We're very, very close partners with Biacart Samon, for example. Very, very close partners with Laurent Perrier. Super close with Krug.
Nice.
With Bollinger, I mean, with numerous of the big houses, as well as working with other importers, growers such as Kermit Lynch and also Skurnik. We work well with the Skurnik portfolio as well.
Nice. Good deal. Good deal. As a champagne buyer, what factors and considerations do you prioritize when selecting champagnes for the portfolio?
The main thing for me is I try to imagine a customer for it. I try to imagine a customer for the champagne before I buy it.
Absolutely.
And of course, I want to also have. I want to represent champagne well. If we didn't have negociants and co-ops and growers, we wouldn't be doing a good job of representing champagne. If we didn't have a number of good producers from the Côte de Blanc, a number of good producers from the Montant de Reims, a number of good producers from the Valley of the Marne, we wouldn't be doing a good job of representing champagne. So it's very, very important for me that, customers can come to us and find great stuff from the Aube, great stuff from the Saison, great stuff from Sud Epernay, to really represent the region, the terroir, the styles also. It's important. I mean, I don't know about for you, but for us, demi-sec is like, I can only carry, I think I've got 2 or 3 SKUs because it's so quiet with demi-sec, but I still want to have one, I mean, it'd be too bad to let it go.
I agree. I mean, trying to find a good quality demi-sec is really, really hard. Outside of, the big brands like Vouv, so on and so forth. Yeah, I think demi-sec, especially being here in the South and having a lot of like spicy cuisines, demi-sec would be excellent. But trying to find what either distributors have it, or they just don't have a lot of it, or it's just not on the market at all. At least in Texas.
No.
And it is the ones that are on the market are, they're the big negociants. There's nothing that's super small production.
Yeah.
boutique style, which I haven't had. I haven't had any grower demi sec, which is definitely on my list of things to try. So
Yeah.
I definitely will get with you and try and get some cool names of some producers to try out to try some nice demi sec. That's
Yeah.
what.
No, I mean, there's so many good, there's
Oh,
good applications for it, but it seems like, the demand is got to the point where it's affecting the supply.
yeah, you're right. You are right about. And the thing about it is that demi sec demi sec kind of fits along the lines. Like, you don't understand, that's more along the lines of what champagne was before. Before brut style was. So champagne was a sweeter style beverage historically, and it wasn't to like the late 19th century where it became this super bone dry style. Thank you, Lady Pommery, for that. And it's been rolling that way ever since. So no, it definitely is a style of champagne. I think that's very, very hidden in every market. That should get a lot more credit. Moving along, in your opinion, what sets K&L approach to purchasing champagne apart from other wine importers? And are there any unique qualities or values that guide your decision making?
Oh, absolutely. So I would say that the to answer the second part of the question first, I'm really just the value that I have is delivering value to my customers. Um,
Absolutely.
and I want to make sure, especially on the direct import side, to have things that are going to just really take their dollars far, and that links directly into what's different about our approach. And our approach is, we are a importer. We're a selector who imports and then sells directly to customers.
Right.
So we're taking out 2 layers of markup in our by doing it that way. And it, we're able to offer Grand Cru Blanc de Blanc from good growers at $35 a bottle retail because of that. And um, that, to me, being able to offer real value to the customer is my number one value for myself.
I mean, that's one of the things that I would love to see. That's one thing I'm really, really big on, even in my research and looking for different champagnes, is champagne that is one that's affordable in cost. Consumers naturally think that champagne, which it naturally isn't a beverage that is a SKU that's very, very expensive. But there are some
Yeah.
champagnes, like you said, around that $45, $40 range that
Yeah.
is great. That's great
Yeah.
quality. That's out there, and you just have to, as a person being a buyer and importer, try and find them, because there is some really, really good stuff that you can pay half the price that you would probably pay for a normal bottle of champagne. That's going to be just as good.
Yeah. And that's, to me, the it really is true that champagne, it's a premium product. And the rules are so strict, the climate is so difficult there. There's a lot of reasons why there's an entry fee, but um,
Absolutely.
there's also people there who are making stuff.
Podcast, we definitely discuss healing. We discuss aspects of psychology. We discuss, like, you becoming the best you, mental wellness,
For sure.
health,
Femininity, parenthood, dating
definitely
as
dating.
single parents. And it's from a lens of two psychologists,
Yeah.
So
But also two people who grew up like with both parents, married parents, and then, like, you all know that Chloe and I are the youngest of our crews, like her siblings and my siblings. So yeah, so it's from that perspective.
looking at life through that lens.
Yeah.
So you're gonna get a whole lot of things from us. From us being women, going through life as parents, and all of these awesome attributes. But
Yeah.
yes, womanology, the study of women.
The study of women.
Who aren't, they're not hiring MBAs to dream up these price points. They're basing their prices on their costs. And
Right.
to me,
Right.
Being a simple man, I like doing business that way.
Same. Agreed. Totally agree. All right, now turning to the U.S. market, what trends have you observed recently in terms of champagne consumption? Are there any particular styles or producers that have gained popularity in your eyes as of late?
Oh boy, so many people are coming up, because I think of some of the giant missteps by some of the biggest companies um, with their pricing. I mean, we've seen prices of things like Dom Perignon almost double.
Yes.
The price of Cristal almost double. And I am a full believer in the producers being able to make money, but that's not gas and glass. That's not inflation.
Right.
Um, that's a repositioning of the brands.
Right.
And frankly, we've seen a tremendous drop off in demand for those people that have, or those companies that have decided to do these just absolutely radical price increases, and
Right.
that has made a lot of room for people that have been more reasonable to come through. And for us on most of our direct import stuff, I've been able to hold prices even though my price in euros has gone up because of the windfall of the currency. And
Absolutely.
that's I was looking at the euro today and it's down at like 1.05, almost 1.06, but it's a lot of this stuff is I think a little bit misguided with the price increases, and I think that the people that have been more reasonable have got that windfall. But in terms of styles, I definitely see more of an interest in zero dosage stuff, and I think that's about 50% to do with the foods that people are having with their champagne when they're using it as a wine for their dinner, and about 50% because of climate change. And without they don't need the dosage anymore on a lot of
Right.
this stuff.
Right. I mean, there's no need to, that goes right to our next question that we're going to talk about climate change, is that there's no need for the added sugar. There's no reason for the high dosage anymore because the fruit is just naturally ripening because of the warmth that's hitting champagne at levels right now. And I was reading things during harvest, like people were actually passing out. Couldn't even imagine in the region of Champagne, people passing out from harvest in an area that has an average temperature of around 50 degrees. I think it's up to like 70 now, which is ironic.
Sadly,
It's crazy.
yeah.
Crazy.
Sadly, I heard of 2 fatalities.
Absolutely, I did. I think I heard that as well. I think I did read that 2 people did pass away from actually doing harvest, which is in that area. You just don't think it gets that warm. I mean, traditionally, it never gets that warm. Gets that warm there. Heading to our next question, great segue when you said about climate change. How has climate change been affecting, and we all know it's been affecting the wine world. Have you noticed any changes in the taste or characteristics of champagne due to climate change? And are there any specific challenges or opportunities that this presents for champagne as an industry and also as a region?
I mean, absolutely. I've been noticing. I'll never forget coming back from tasting the Van Clair in the spring of 2009. I tasted all the 2008s.
Okay.
And I came back and my dentist said to me, "What did you do to yourself? What did you do to your teeth?" And now I come back from my buying trip and the dentist looks in my mouth and doesn't say anything. It's just like, I mean, the wines are so much softer than they used to be. And I mean, this is just talking about my short 23-year career. I mean, they have absolutely transformed. Especially when you're talking about tasting Van Clair. And most recently, we did our staff summit, where I get all of my guys that help me in the different stores with champagne, and we have all of the major vendors come in from the big houses and show us wines. And the number one, the vintage that we tasted the most of was 15. And boy, I don't know what you've been noticing, but for me, I've been tasting a lot of 15s that are both low in acid and also a little vegetal, from like a Paso Robles style shutdown from heat.
Yes.
And
Yes.
some of the 15s are really pronounced in their vegetal character, and that's new. That's real new.
That's great. That's kind of how I feel about 18. 18 has that nice softness to it. It's not racy. Everything just seems very, very balanced.
Yeah.
I heard the same thing about how 19 and 20 is going to be the same also when those finishes drop. When they get released, it's going to have that nice balance and elegance to it. But no, 15 for sure. 15 and 18 for sure, I have to say, are probably two of the softest, very approachable and easy drinking vintages I've probably had in a while.
Yeah. And I think that also the benefit, you were talking about the opportunities, is it seems like between 15 and 18, the producers, the growers learned a lot about managing the heat, because tasting the non-vintages that are based on 18 and some of the early release 18 vintages, and as well as the Van Clair, I just didn't taste as much vegetal problems, even though, like 15, it was an absolute record-breaking hot vintage. I think that the producers, there's a lot of opportunities for the growers to do basic heat protection stuff in the vineyard that they've never wanted to do, because for 1,000+ years, hot vintages are always better in champagne. Right. So that's not an idea that's going to change overnight. But certainly, they could, California producers, Australian producers, producers from hotter climates, have a lot of tricks that are, they're public knowledge that the producers in Champagne can share. And I think that it's, there's great opportunity to for preserving acidity in a warmer climate. The guys at the CIBC, they said, we've got contingency plans up to X number of degrees.
Right.
And they said that after X number of degrees, we're not really going to be worrying about champagne.
Well, one group I know is probably very happy with climate change, and they're hoping that things continue to get warm in Champagne is English. The English bubbles, they're getting more of the traditional style champagne, where they already have the natural soil type. The temperature is getting along the lines what we historically think about champagne. So I'm sure the English are over there pumping their fists like, just keep getting hot, just keep getting hot. Stay warm, get warm, champagne, keep getting warm. We just gonna stay warm. So I know they are extremely ecstatic about the climate change happening in Champagne. Going back real quick, you was talking about the last question. We were talking about the money and how certain brands are raising their prices dramatically. I like to call it the LVMH tax.
Yes.
That's what I like to call it, the LVMH tax.
Yeah.
For those who don't know who LVMH is, that's Louis Vuitton, Moet, Hennessy, and a lot of your very big champagne brands, from Veuve to Krug, Dom. They are all under the LVMH label, and yes, Moet. So yes, if you are a part of LVMH, your prices most likely go up tremendously, which is okay, because they have the say so to do so. So that's just my 2 cents on the prices going up for those.
Yeah,
they all are great. I love them all. Love them all. But moving forward, so how do you see the role of sustainability and environmental practices evolving within the champagne industry? And are there any initiatives or efforts that K&L supports in this regards?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that the certifications for high environmental value, to me, it's the most important moves in Champagne. There's a lot of completely organic, biodynamic producers too, making wonderful stuff, but I I really believe that the steps that can be taken together with many people taking those steps just have a real much bigger impact than a few people going completely biodynamic. I think
Yes.
that the folks that are doing biodynamics um, for their own philosophy and for their own quality, I'm all for it. But I think that for the planet and for Champagne as a whole, I think that these more incremental certifications are really starting to have an impact. I mean, when I first started going to Champagne, um, there was still garbage in the vineyards. Um,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know,
Yes. Can you
and
speak on that a little bit? Like, for those who don't know, like what was Champagne doing with their soils in regards to the garbage in the soils?
yeah, I mean, they were literally bringing garbage in from Paris to try and keep their topsoil from blowing down the hills, because they were using just absolute just um, basically napalming everything with herbicides, pesticides. Um, so now, it's a law that you have to have a certain number of rows with grass in them, and these steps that they've taken together. Um, Boy, it's transformed the place since I first started going. I mean, it used to
Absolutely.
we years ago we were the importer for Mr. Fleury, the first of all the
Okay.
biodynamic producers in
Yes.
Champagne, and he unfortunately passed this year, and now his heirs are running the property and doing a great job. But I mean, it was just like there was him and a few other people doing organics, and then there was a lot of people just like really coming down hard with the chemicals. So I've seen great progress over my career, and the progress keeps on being made. And I think that they're being pretty good stewards of the land. They're um, you know it's nice to see those steps being made, and you know promoting producers who are careful stewards of the land is really important for us.
Awesome. Awesome. Are there any specific producers that you currently find exciting that are new to the U.S. market that customers should be looking out for? Can you share some of their insight as far as their winemaking philosophies or their unique offerings?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we have we've started working relatively recently with with a producer in the Cote de Blanc by the name of Damian Hugo,
Nice.
and
Okay.
he is just blessed with incredibly old vines in both Cramel and Shui, and also
Nice.
in the rarely talked about Grand Cru of Loiry, and he's working all with large wood.
Okay.
And he's one of these producers that isn't interested in organic certification, but he and his wife are, they're 10 hours a day out there in their vineyards, doing the handwork, and they are very reluctant to use chemicals, but at the same time, you know, they're they're not willing to give up the option, especially in light of the recent 2021 disaster for organic producers. I have one producer who's in conversion to organics in 2021 and didn't even fill the press up once with 50 acres, not a single press load, lost everything.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty tough stuff. But I really like the work that Damian Hugo is doing. For producers that are available more broadly. It's definitely not a new producer, maybe the oldest of all the producers, Gosei. But boy, big respect to the folks at Gosei. They have not been charging us the LVMH tax, and their Grand Reserve, which I think in most major markets is a $50, $60 retail. The current release, it's 5 years on the lees. That is a serious bottle of champagne.
It is.
For a very, 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 very good value. So I give a big shout out to Gosei for doing really nice work, and I love their. They do some of these specialty products, like with Grand Reserve, that's been in the cave for 12 years or 15 years, with their 15 on and their 12 on, and I think those are super, super interesting wines. I really love the stuff that's being done with Arbonne and Melier. Sort of goes back to the climate change discussion. They're higher acid indigenous grapes, and there's a producer called Aspazi that does this cépage d'Anton, which is just made out of old varieties that I think is just dynamite and so zippy, and requires a long time on the lees before release. Always more than 8 years, and I'm into that one.
Cool. Oh, one thing I wanted to ask you also, for those also who don't know, can you explain to our guests what is a vin clair? For those who are unfamiliar with what a vin clair actually is.
Yeah, so they call the after the primary fermentation is done on the grape juice, and the grape juice has been turned into a wine, but before it's been bottled and made to sparkle, that's what they call vin clair, or clear, just the literal translation of clear wine, non-bubbly wine in champagne.
And it rips with a lot of acid.
Yeah. And it's funny, I've now tasted 23 vintages of vin clair, and
nice.
I still have no idea how the folks in Champagne taste these vin clairs and are able to do the blends that they do, and to declare vintages and to look out into the future the way they do. When I leave, I come away with ideas like, wow, like this was a good year for Chardonnay, or this was a good year for Meunier, or boy, they had problems in this area and they did well in that area. But it's just general ideas that I come away with. The way that the Champenois themselves can taste that vin clair, and then make those blending decisions. That's hats off to them. I don't know how they do it.
I totally 1,000% agree with you on that. Our final question for the main interview portion is, finally, what advice would you give to champagne enthusiasts who want to explore and appreciate the diverse range of champagnes available? Are there any recommendations or strategies that you can offer?
One of the most fun things that you can do, and it's a presentation that I do myself all the time, but it's something that you can do if you've got access to a guy like Cornelius or an expert, is to come up or go to a good wine shop and ask for a champagne that's all Meunier, a champagne that's all Chardonnay, a champagne that's all Pinot, a champagne that's a blend of all three, a champagne that's a vintage, and a champagne that's a rosé. And you get together with a group of friends and you open all 6 of them, And I think that that's something that will just give you an incredible, a level of knowledge or an experience that most people wouldn't have. And I think that that's really, the joke in the industry is that champagne is the easiest of all wines to drink, but the hardest of all wines to taste. And I think
I agree with that.
And I think a lot of what makes it hard to taste is because most of the time when you're drinking champagne, you show up to a party, and
absolutely, it's not taken serious.
Yeah, they pour you this in a flute with a hole about that big. Flute you can't even get your nose in, and it's
Exactly.
Ice cold, and you're trying to remember like 15 people that you just met's names, and it's not very conducive to tasting. Well, with Cabernet Sauvignon, almost anybody who's got a passing interest in wine has sat down and just had two Cabernets next to each other. But not a lot of people do that with champagne. I know you do, but not a lot of people do. And just to do a tasting with friends of the major varieties, a blend, a vintage, and a rosé, I think is a real big eye-opener and a place to get started.
Nice. So we're gonna move on now to the last segment of the interview, and I like to call these the pop the court questions. So I'm gonna shoot you some rapid fire questions, about 6 of them, and just give me your thoughts and insight. First thing that comes to mind. What is your favorite place to drink champagne?
Lake Cryer in Rennes. I love, if you get a chance to go and you can go to Restaurant Le Parc, it's the Michelin 2-star there in Rennes, and the glassware, the selection, the atmosphere, hard to beat.
I would definitely add that. You gotta inbox me that one. DM me that place for sure.
I will.
Definitely. All right. What is your favorite place to buy champagne?
I guess I've got to be selfish at K&L. That's where I buy mine.
Understood. What is your favorite champagne grape and why?
Wow. That's, like being asked to pick between children because I love them all. But probably the most profound experience I ever had with champagne was with Meunier, which gets put down a lot, but is prized by, both Krug and Biacart Salmon for different reasons. And, the 1964 René Collard, who's the grandfather of what is now Collard Picard, his 1964 was the greatest champagne I've ever tasted. And I think that Meunier is it's indigenous to the region. It tells the story of the region, and when it's taken seriously, when it's grown seriously, made seriously, and aged seriously, it's underappreciated.
I think that's actually mine as well, and I think that's actually the grape that fits the American palate. Like it is, its youthfulness is, us. You have to be a serious champagne enthusiast to want to store champagne. Because most people, when they get it, they want to drink it.
Yes.
And I always tell them, if you try to drink this now, get some Meunier, because Meunier is phenomenal. It's everything that. It's kind of like I call it like the little brother to Pinot, kind of the great little brother to Pinot. Has all the great food quality times 10 to me. And it's very, 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 very phenomenal. I'm kind of still iffy on the Meunier rosés, but I have found a few that I love. But I believe that Meunier actually is the grape of the American palate for sure. All right, what is your unicorn wine? What is one champagne you have not tried and is on your list to try? If money was the object that you would go for right now.
I've never had one of those 21s. A lot of people say that it was the greatest.
The I Only Listen to 90s Music podcast is a show for 80s babies who were 90s kids. If you were a No Limit soldier, then this is your show. If you believe that Cash Money is not an army but was a Navy, this is the show for you. If you and your friends ever tried to sing a song written by Escape, In Vogue, Shy, or Voiced Men at a talent show during middle school, this is your show. The I Only Listen to 90s Music podcast is a bunch of 80s babies talking about all the songs and things that we loved when we were kids and teenagers. So if you went to the skating rink and you were at a lock-in, this is the show for you. If you think that Tevin Campbell was the original Prince of R&B, this is the show for you. If you don't understand the conflict between Monica and Brandy, but you're kind of on Monica's side and understand why Brandy got punched, this is the show for you. Make sure that you tune in, subscribe, click the little subscribe link. We're here. We're going to talk about all things 90s music. This is the show for you.
Vintage of all time in Champagne.
Yes.
And I would love to try that the 21 Salon.
Yes.
That would be a great thing to try. So I think I'll go with that.
That is a perfect one. Perfect one. All right, what is your favorite style? Champagne style.
I really like fresh, high acidity champagnes.
Okay.
For my favorite style, because I think that they work really, really well for the aperitif. And also, my wife and I, we have a few weekly traditions, and one of them is sushi and champagne. So we love to either make our own or get some takeout and have champagne and sushi, or go to one of the few restaurants that does Japanese food with a good lift of champagne. So I really do like a higher acid style. I've been really enjoying the 13s and the 14s. Telling everybody who will listen to me to load up on them, because there's going to be plenty of hot vintages to buy, and if you miss one, there's plenty in the pipeline.
Absolutely. All right. And last question. If champagne could talk, what do you think it would say about those who drink it?
Champagne is such a generous beverage. I think that if champagne could talk, it would thank you for drinking it. It's the spirit of the Champenois when you go there is so generous. I think that the bubbles themselves, the bubbles themselves can even make a champagne show well in a far less than perfect drinking vessel. I think it does a lot of the job that the carbonation does a lot of the job that a glass would normally be forced to do, even though a good glass is always better than a not so good glass. But I think that for me, I think that champagne would say thank you.
Nice. Nice. Well, where can people find you? Social media or anywhere if they want to reach out to you to get some good champagne advice? What's the best way to get in contact with you?
So on social media, I'm Champagne Gary Westby on Instagram. And then I can also be reached by the staff directory at klwines.com. And my email is easy. It's just Gary Westby at klwines.com. So I can be reached that way as well. But I'm very active on Instagram, posting videos all the time, doing posts all the time. So, and check my DMs real regularly on that.
Well, thank you. One thing I will say that I will be remiss not to say this is that I really love your passion. Your videos really, really inspire me. And thank you again so much for being a part of Simply Champagne. And I cannot wait to see what the future holds for you in the industry. And I can't wait to sit down and drink some bubbles with you.
I can't wait either. If I'm ever in Texas, I'm going to come out and see you. And if you ever end up coming out to California, you got to let me know.
Definitely. Well, thank you guys again for another episode. This is Cornelius signing off and Gary signing off. And you guys always remember, when your only pain in life, be champagne. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Gary.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.